Hello and welcome back to the port. I'm the Gav Major and this is Admiralty Reports. Admiralty Reports is your gameplays with my commentary, and today we have a submission from Eternal Abyss, who is playing in the Tier 7 American light cruiser, the Cleveland. Now this is a Tier 6 and 7 game of domination on Trident. On the friendly team there's a Lightning, a Boise, a Megami, Eternal Abyss in his Cleveland, a Scharnhorst in the division with a Bismarck, and a Margi, an Odin, and a Vanguard. And on the enemy team there's a Fletcher, a Mayaku, two Wichitas, a Snob, two Odins, a Monarch, and an Iowa. So again, we're looking at the usual problem that you get with Tier 7. We are looking at far too many battleships per side, not enough destroyers, and a reasonable amount of cruisers. Now he spawned over at the Alpha Objective and he's already found his first wife, or or an island, I guess you could say is the best way to put it. When you're a light cruiser like this, getting behind an island is for life, almost. So very similar to marriage. So here he is. He's managed to get himself tucked in nicely, and he's been opening fire on the Monarch, the other team. So also it's worth noting, looking at the mini-map, that the way that Eternal Abyss's team is played, people spawn in the centre kind of stayed in the centre, people on the right are moving around, people on the left are like moving into Alpha. His destroyers moved into the objective quite nicely, it's getting quite a lot of spotting. And now look at the enemy team. Most of the enemy team has just gone really heavy onto the Alpha objective. Looks like their centre's completely folded over, so they've kind of put all their eggs in one basket. Now, from the matchmaking, he's going to be quite concerned in regards to any of those battleships if they catch him broadside on. So obviously he's going to want to make sure that he stays unspotted, and he's got himself into a really nice position because none of the enemies have actually gone into the centre towards Bravo. He's actually... he's got it really easy. All the enemies have pushed themselves over to one side. He's only spotted here because the Wichita is going hell for leather into the objective, I think. However, we're only about 3 minutes into the game. We're already up to 40,000 damage, I could say, and we've got 7 fires lit. That's one of the nice things with the Cleveland. She is very much a fire starter, especially when you consider his commander build, which will be down in the description. But he's using Norman Scott, level 15, legendary 2, and the skills he's gone for is Burn It Down, XXL, Ignitor. So obviously those two really helping with the fire chance. He's also got Armed and Ready, Fixated, and Equilibrium Power. Now, Equilibrium Power on these American light cruisers is absolutely brilliant for yielding damage, and I think as long as we end up with battleship heavy games at Tier 7, then why not abuse them for all they're worth? So, although the enemy have committed very heavily over onto this flank, they don't have the DD advantage here. So it's as long as Eternal Abyss's team can keep the enemy back, then the Lightning is more than free to keep pushing into Alpha, capping it, and getting this spotting. So now it's time for the Monarch to try and push in. Obviously he's spotted by the Monarch. Now the benefit of the Equilibrium Power is obviously it's basically inertia fuse high explosive. Basically it means that the high explosive shell will penetrate through more armor before detonating. However, it does come with a reduced fire chance. However, that can easily be outbalanced by Ignitor, hence why taking Burn It Down also then just buffs the actual fire chance even further. Now for his Cleveland, obviously down in the description will be the modules he's chosen, but he's taken Aiden Systems Propulsion Mod 2, Concealment Mod 1, and Main Battery Mod 3. Getting himself fire number 10 on the Monarch. And it just seems really strange, the enemy team just seems to be coming out in piecemeal, one by one, not pushing as a single unit. And the thing is, Eternal Abyss's team has a lovely crossfire. They've got a mix of ships in the centre and to the south of the Alpha objective, meaning that as the enemy team does push in, they end up getting caught in this withering crossfire. And the entire time Eternal Abyss is able to take complete advantage by the lack of awareness of the enemy team. They don't seem to really be trying that hard to obviously take him out, and then also yeah, just really racking it up. Here we go. This looks like it's going to be kill number 2. There we go. Kill number 2, and we're up to 95,000 damage. So really putting his weight in this game. And the Wichita's battle tanking behind the island. I mean, it's what a Wichita should do, but the Cleveland's got these beautiful 6-inch guns with this really high. I know it's they call it sluggish shot, but it just means that the arcs of these shells is really beautiful for getting over islands. You can basically counter enemy cruisers that are trying to do island play. Getting himself a fire on the Wichita, I wouldn't be too surprised if he burns out. There we go, kill number 3 at 105,000 damage. So very quickly picking off 3 of the 4 sunk enemy ships, as they seem to not be pushing. The thing is, they've got 2 ships right at the back of the map. You can see that, and then yeah, the ships are in a really strange positioning where they can't really support each other. Whereas here you can see the Eternal Abyss is in and among his friendly ships. They're pushing as a unit. And that Lightning, he's done a very good job of capping Alpha and getting a lot of spotting, keeping the enemies spotted and keeping them pushed back, I guess you can say, because a battleship's always going to be scared of the threat of a destroyer being in the area, and being he is the only destroyer, his value to the team is very, very valuable. It's one of the reasons why I'd love to see a lot more destroyer players playing at the higher tiers. There does seem to be a bit of a drought of them. Obviously that is coming from someone who I do try and mix it up. Get himself a fire number at 19? Yeah, 19. There we go, there's high caliber. I'm not surprised, we're up to 135,000 damage. 241 hits on target so far as well. Odin's just going to get picked apart. He's pushed out into the centre, and he basically opened himself up to the crossfire that Eternal Abyss's team has managed to accomplish. Earning himself kill number 4. There's another Odin. He's not long for the world. There he goes. What does that leave left? That just leaves their Fletcher. I think it's their Mayuku. I'm not quite sure what the last battleship is. But it's basically all is lost for the enemy team. They have no caps, and they are outnumbered 2.3 to 1. Now this just, I mean, obviously it's all down to a bit of positioning, but this does seem to be quite common these days, where you end up with one team just steamrolls another. I mean, it's nothing against the team that does the steamrolling. I mean, they obviously did their job well. It's just that the other team that does get steamrolled need to probably question what they're doing. A cruiser away at the back of the map there. The battleship, which seems to have retired to the northwestern corner of the map. What does he hope to achieve from there? I think some of the issues from this game is the enemy team committed quite heavily to one flank, so they kind of put too many eggs in one basket. Because they committed too heavily on a single flank, they weren't able to form any kind of crossfire into the centre or over into any of the other objectives. Their destroyer did manage to get the cap, but it's unfortunately been pushed off the cap and was quite unsported, I guess you could say. And then, as the enemy team did, obviously, they couldn't get to A first and didn't have an advantage with a destroyer. and simply that positioning of the Lightning has really given Turnbull's team a nice advantage. There's the Fletcher. Why is the Fletcher within radar range of the Cleveland? You should never be anywhere near it. As a DD player, you should always know what the radar ranges and durations are of most cruisers, and just stay out of that range, because it's not worth running that risk unless you know you're protected by an island or something like that. Here we're getting a beautiful example of the radar animation, though, that does come on the PlayStation Pro. I do look forward to them introducing that in future. I do hope it comes on the PS5 as and when World Warships Legends does come to the PS5. There we are, tidying himself away the Fletcher, getting himself Kraken unleashed, and up to 22 fires at that point. So, of course it's an IRA at the back of the map. Of course it is. Sometimes having long-range guns on the battleship, although it's very beautiful because it means that you can reach out and touch large amounts of the map, you should never be falling back so the enemy are just staying in range. The Iowa has this great ability of using that range to make her impact felt across large swathes of the map, and therefore you need to position yourself in such a way where you can have map control over large parts of the map. So unfortunately, by being at the back of the map, the amount of control that he probably has is over probably about half of the alpha objective, maybe a bit more. So we've only got the Maiku left. That's 6 kills though by Eternal Abyss, 176,000 damage. I think when it comes to the end screen, it's going to be good to see how much in the lead Eternal Abyss does come in his Cleveland, because there's no denying with this amount of damage and the kills, he's going to be very highly up the table, and he's definitely earned his Kraken, is the best way to put it. But what I'd like to see is how at the position of that Lightning, because I think without the Lightning on that flank, a lot of what has happened wouldn't have been possible. I kind of feel like the Lightning was the key, whereas Eternal Abyss in his Cleveland was almost the big red hammer that knocks down the door. So here we are at the end screen. We see he's got Kraken Unleashed, First Blood, Confederate, and High Caliber. So definitely showing he's earned his Kraken with 176,000 damage. So that's a really nice amount there. 24 fires. Now here we go. Eternal Abyss definitely the runaway winner with 3,744 ship XP. Next best in this team is the Megami. Then we have the Boise. So again, this is the thing, cruisers do very well at tier 7 because there's lots of lumbering battleships and the cruisers have a lot of DPM. So a good cruiser player can do very, very well at the higher tiers simply because you can just rake in the damage. The Lightning came mid-table. I'm a little bit surprised at that. I would have thought he would have got himself a lot of spotting damage out of that. But the amusing one is looking at the battleships on Eternal Abyss's team. The Scharnhorst coming in bottom, then the Bismarck, then the Yamaki. So it's kind of, there's a lot of these battleships, but they're not really pulling their weight. Going to the enemy team, yes, the Iowa's the best battleship on the enemy team, but he was possibly only coming in that position because he survived the longest. By being survived the longest, he's able to get the most damage out, because you always got to consider that a battleship's reload is about, let's say, 30 seconds, and if you take that into account into a game, you could say you're only really looking at about 30 volleys if you start shooting off the bat. So obviously the longer a battleship can survive, the better, but you can then see the Snop coming in bottom. We have a Wichita coming in quite low, a Monarch coming in low, and Odin as well. I mean, I wouldn't really say it's a true rule of thumb, but I know that some say ideally you want to be looking at around 1,000 ship XP plus to show that you've actually done a decent effort. And if you take that into account, you can only really say that the top 3 players in the enemy team really pulled their weight. Obviously now going on to the economy tab, and I'm sure that he's made a beautiful profit. Yeah, there you go, 379,000 credits. That is with no booster flags, but obviously with a premium account. If you take away the premium account, he would have still made a beautiful profit of 194,000 credits. So Really quite tidy there. I guess he does make a little bit of a bonus. Yeah, it makes a bonus with the ship XP with the 1.5 multiplier for the daily win, and obviously that just rolls across the board. Really quite nice. Well, that was a great submission by Eternal Abyss. Quite a good textbook example of how to play the Cleveland. Picking his location, basically abusing the enemy team is the best way to put it there. It shows how effective these American light cruisers can be with those commander skills. I'd always highly recommend going and checking them out in the description. So obviously the commander and the ship modules will be down in the description. Now this has been Amateur Reports. It's part of the community content on the Monday. The other kind of content is Sea Trials. So Amateur Reports is your gameplays with my commentary, usually just commentating on a really good game. However, Sea Trials is also there as a way of reviewing any kind of gameplay, good, bad, and adding tactical overlays. And then that way I can either show what players do well, or I can also show what I would do differently, or what you could do to improve your gameplay. As always, our email address is down in the description, along with a link to a video that shows you how to get video captures of your PS4 console. And also down in the description is a link to Patreon should you wish to support the channel. Well, if you've enjoyed this amateur report, feel free to give the video a thumbs up. If you like this kind of content, feel free to check out some of the other content on the channel, and feel free to subscribe. And if you are already a subscriber, I'd like to say thank you very much, guys, for your comments, submissions, and contributions. Without your continued support, this channel wouldn't really be what it is. And also, without your submissions, these Community Monday videos wouldn't actually be possible. Well, until next time, I'm the Galloping Major, and back to the port.